When is the last time you opened up a phone book? Is this how you decide where to eat or how to find a plumber who can come fix your clogged up sink? Probably not. Most of us use more modern sources of information, such as a search engine on a smartphone or a tablet, which can pull up not only the names of businesses, but the phone number, pictures, and directions on how to get there. So if our access to information has changed this much, why do many classrooms still look similar to this picture, with desks placed in neat rows and the teacher firmly in charge of keeping silence in the room? Shouldn't our students learn in a more 21st century atmosphere? In his book, 5 Minds for the Future, Howard Gardner discusses how the world around us is changing dramatically. To thrive in this world, people will need different cognitive abilities than in the past. It's no longer sufficient to merely know information and facts. Future workers will need to learn how to think, problem solve, and be continuous lifelong learners. This highlights the need for education to change from a focus on learning facts to learning how to find and interact with the vast amount of information available with the click of a mouse. By relying on lectures and worksheets where all the information is flowing from the teacher, students are taught that they have little control over their own learning. Teachers need to nurture curiosity and help students develop the skills to search for answers instead. Have you ever thought your students were with you? They could repeat facts you taught them, but when you asked them to utilize that information in a deeper thinking situation, they floundered. Why was this so difficult? What can be done to remedy this? The teacher shouldn't be the only one whose thinking light bulb is shining. All class members need to be active participants in the learning process. By utilizing many of the thinking routines from Richard's Making Thinking Visible, students are taught to engage with content and make sense of it through deep thinking and exploring of the material. In her book, Teaching in High Gear, Ratzel says, I was able to take the small successes that I was experiencing with students and build those into some bigger feats. As we finished the year, they were full of questions, and best of all, they felt capable of answering them. This kind of deep understanding only comes from students who are cognitively engaged. All light bulbs must be burning. So what can help students plug into deep thinking, which leads to real learning? What is the source of power to transform education? Visible thinking is the term given to the variety of thinking routines developed by Richard Church and Morrison. These are scaffolded exercises meant to be used regularly in the classroom to build thinking skills in students and expose what that thinking is. The benefit is for the teacher, who can remedy instruction quickly to correct misunderstandings, as well as the student, who gains insight into how to connect previous learning to new learning, or how to use evidence to draw a conclusion. In Making Thinking Visible, Richard Church and Morrison say teachers convey messages about thinking and learning. These messages, such as learning is collective and shared, learning is active and the result of thinking, and that learning flows from questioning and pondering ideas, become part of the class culture. Teachers need to carefully develop a culture which builds their presence into the class. When Ratzel repeated phrases like, everyone has something to contribute and we all better listen, or it's going to be a great day in science class, or I expect your personal best every single time you do anything in my class, it conveys a sense of expectation for students to live up to when working independently. Student agency is built by teachers giving students a chance to explore areas related to the content which interests them or are areas they have questions about. Students will still need help focusing their inquiry and research, but the process becomes a two-way interaction with the teacher's role changing from instructor to facilitator. By teaching students to use thinking routines and building teacher presence, students are ready to choose and pursue knowledge independently. So, essentially, a class culture that crams facts in order to be memorized and tested in a standardized way without engaging the student in deep thinking is creating a group of renters. They may use the information to accomplish a task, but with a shallow commitment to the learning, they're generally forgetting the information soon after it has been recited. Members of a thinking classroom are like homeowners. They have more invested in their learning, so they are more likely to think carefully and draw conclusions based on facts they have researched and debated. By creating a thinking classroom and allowing agency, students will own their learning. The 21st century is well underway. Our students' futures are dependent on becoming lifelong independent learners. Through illuminating thinking, creating a classroom culture of high expectations, and trusting students to make choices about their education, we create a place where kids want to learn and succeed. By creating this sort of thinking classroom, you can be the superhero you always dreamed about, saving kids from passive learning and modeling the joy of learning.